Hi everyone! So today we're going to be reading a beautiful book. This is a beautiful book. It's one of my favorites, and if you want to see the original video Read Aloud by Fianna Titus, you can go ahead and see the YouTube link on the bottom so that you can go ahead and see it through her. So let's go ahead and get started. The Other Side by Jacqueline Woodson. Illustrations by E.B. Lewis. That summer, the fence that stretched through our town seemed bigger. We lived in a yellow house on one side of it. White people lived on the other, and my mama said, "Don't climb over that fence when you play." She said it wasn't safe. That summer, there was a girl who wore a pink sweater. Each morning, she climbed up on the fence and stared over at our side. Sometimes I stared back. She never sat on that fence with anybody, that girl didn't. Once when we were jumping rope and she asked if she could play, my friend Sandra said no without even asking the rest of us. I don't know what I would have said. Maybe yes, maybe no. That summer, everyone and everything on the other side of that fence seemed far away. When I asked my mama why, she said, "Because that's the way things have always been." Sometimes when me and Mom went into town, I saw that girl with her mama. She looked sad sometimes, that girl did. "Don't stare," Mom said. "That's not polite." It rained a lot that summer. On rainy days, that girl sat on the fence in a raincoat. She let herself get all wet and acted like she didn't care. Sometimes I saw her dancing around in puddles, splashing and laughing. Mama wouldn't let me go out in the rain. "That's why I bought you rainy day toys," my mama said. "You stay in here where it's warm, safe, and dry." But every time it rained, I looked for that girl, and I always found her somewhere near the fence. Someplace in the middle of that summer, the rain stopped. When I walked outside, the grass was damp and the sun was already high up in the sky. And I stood there with my hands up in the air. I felt brave that day. I felt free. I got close to the fence and that girl asked me my name. "Clover," I said. "My name's Annie," she said. "Annie Paul. I live over yonder," she said. "By where you see the laundry, that's my blouse hanging on the line." She smiled then. She had a pretty smile. And then I smiled and we stood there looking at each other smiling. "It's nice up on this fence," Annie said. "You can come. We can see all over." I ran my hand along the fence. I reached up and I touched the top of it. "A fence like this was made for sitting on," Annie said. She looked at me sideways. "My mama says I shouldn't go on the other side," I said. "My mama says the same thing, but she never said nothing about sitting on it." "Neither did mine," I said. That summer, me and Annie sat together on that fence, and when Sandra and them looked at me funny, I just made believe I didn't care. Some mornings my mama watched us. I waited for her to tell me to get down from that fence before I break my neck or something, but she never did. "I see you made a new friend," she said one morning, and I nodded, and Mama smiled. That summer, me and Annie sat on the fence and watched the whole wide world around us. One day, Sandra and them were jumping rope near the fence, and we asked if we could play. "I don't care," said Sandra. And when we jumped, Sandra and I were partners, the way it used to be. When we were too tired to jump anymore, we sat up on that fence, all of us in a long line. Somebody, some days, somebody's going to come along and knock this old fence down," Annie said, and I nodded. "Yeah," I said, "someday." I'm just going to go back to that very last page because it's very important. And so she says, "Someday somebody's going to come along and knock down this fence," she said, and I nodded. "This old fence." And I nodded. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. This last thing. Okay. And I nodded. Yeah, I said, someday. So that's very important for them to say. And let's go ahead and have our discussion. Hopefully, y'all can discuss with your parents. In the story, Clover's friend automatically says no when the girl asks to play. She does this without even asking the rest of them. Do you ever feel like you should give someone a chance, but because of what others tell you, you don't make an effort to get to know them? What can you do the next time you're in a situation like this? In the story, there is a fence between Clover and Annie. What do you think the fence represents? Have you ever felt an invisible fence around someone who is different than you? The author asks her mama why she can't cross the fence, and her mama responds, because that's the way it's always been. What does she mean by that? Sometimes we think it's hard to cross the fence and open up to someone who is different than us. Annie and Clover became friends despite their differences and what others say, or said, I'm sorry. Sometimes children are the best ones to make a difference. That's you guys. So how did Clover and Annie overcome their differences and the thoughts of everyone else? Something that we can add here is, how can you at your age make a difference? Just like Clover and Annie did. Because like the last page of the book mentions that they hope someday someone will knock down that fence. And maybe that somebody is the children, all of you guys, that can kind of just break that barrier and look past the differences of everyone else and just give someone a chance. So hopefully you guys can discuss all these questions with your family, and I am so glad you stopped by today. Bye.